everyone, and welcome to another edition of Goodnight Chabad Youth. I haven't told a story in a while, so I'm really excited to share a story tonight. My story is called The Last Pair of Shoes. And it's a very beautiful story, and it has very, very beautiful messages. So I'm really excited to share it with you. Here we go. The Last Pair of Shoes. This book is by Sashi Friedman. Here we go. Shalva is an old shoemaker. Rain or shine, you can find him sitting at the edge of the small town where he lives. He is poor and doesn't have his own shop. All he has is a small wooden table with a few very old tools, but he is the best shoemaker that there is. Once, when the weather was bad and business was slow, I stopped by to say hello. Ah, Shalva greeted me happily, wiping his big stained hands on a dirty oilcloth. You are in no hurry, he asked me. Not at all, I answered. Good, he said, pulling a little wood stool out. Sit, he said. It was cloudy, there was no rain, so I sat down to chat a bit. Shalva loves talking about his life in Poland when he was young. He has many interesting stories to tell. Did I ever tell you about the last pair of shoes? No, I said eagerly to hear all about it. And so that afternoon, he told me the story, which you will now hear. And you can see the pictures of Shalva and all his instruments that he uses to make the shoes. It was during the war, and Shalva's father had gone off to fight. Shalva was the oldest of 6 children. Shalva came from a very, very poor family. There wasn't much food. There wasn't even food to buy in the market. And you had to pay so much money just to buy flour. For months, they couldn't even get any sugar. Yes, it was a hard time. The children never got to eat something sweet. They woke up hungry and were always dreaming about food. Shalva's mother had to take care of the little children, and so Shalva, who was the oldest, he had to go to work. Can you imagine? Shalva was so young and he still had to go to work. Before the war, Shalva's father had been a shoemaker. Young Shalva was always in his shop, watching how his father cut and sewed and hammered away until he produced a fine pair of shoes. So, with his father away, Shalva went into the shop and tried to make shoes himself. He had everything he needed: sheets of leather, wooden pegs, and spools of thread. Now we always can just buy shoes from shops that make them in factories, but in the olden days, they had to make each pair of shoes by hand. So they took a lot of work, but they were very well made and lasted a long time. He worked for many long weeks until one day he came running excitedly with a new pair of shoes. Look, Mama, he cried with joy. I made a new pair of shoes like Father. The children squealed with delight, and Shalva's mother clapped her hands and said, Thank you, Hashem, now we'll be able to buy some flour. Shalva sold the shoes, and with the money, he bought a small sack of flour. For the first time in many weeks, the children had some bread and didn't go to sleep hungry. From then on, Shalva worked day and night making shoes, just so he could feed his family, all his younger siblings, and take care of them. One morning, Shalva came to the shop. He noticed there wasn't enough leather left to make any more shoes. The war was dragging on. He wouldn't be able to get more leather. Oh, he thought, soon I'll have to look for other work so my family won't be hungry. Shalva looked at his feet. His shoes were already too small for him. He had blisters on his toes. You know what? I'll make the last pair of shoes for myself, he said. He measured his feet, and using his knife, he carved out the soles from the last piece of leather. He worked until late in the afternoon, and at last the shoes We're ready. Shovel was cleaning up when suddenly a man came into his shop. He was wearing a coat, but his feet were bare. They were scratched and bruised. "Hello," he said. "I need shoes. Could you please make me a pair?" "Oh, I'm sorry," said Shalva. "I just finished making the last pair of shoes. I have no more materials left." Oh no, the man looked like he was going to cry. "What am I going to do? I've come all the way from the next village. There's not a shoemaker to be heard. Everyone's out of business. You are my last hope. I must have shoes or else I can't walk and my children will starve." Just then the man noticed the new shoes that Shalva had made. "They seem to be his size. Please let me have these shoes," he said. Shalva felt bad for the man. But what could he do? With father away, he had to care for his family. If he gave away the new shoes, then he wouldn't either have food for his family. Such a hard decision Shalva had to make. "Please, please," the man pleaded. Shalva thought, and at last he had an idea. "Let's share the shoes," he said. "You will use them when you go to work, and when you are done, you'll bring them to me, and then I'll go to work." Wonderful, what a wonderful idea. The man's eyes lit up and he hugged Shalva. Shalva was so young, yet he cared so much about this other man, and he thought of such a good idea that they would share the one pair of shoes that they both had. Can you imagine what a beautiful story? "I work in the evening and during the night. I have to go into the forest to collect wood to heat ovens. It is dangerous, and my feet are getting caught on all the thorns and branches. The hardest part is when I have to stand on the icy river at the edge of the snow to chop the wood. There are a lot of trees, but without shoes, I can't do it. I can't stand on the frozen ice. I'll be able to continue working, and every morning when I sell the wood, I will return the shoes to you, and then you can go to work." Shalva was glad he found a way to help the man. He cheerfully took the new shoes and gave them to the man. The man slipped his sore feet into them. They felt smooth and warm on his cold feet, and they fit perfectly. Thank you," he cried. "I will bring them back in the morning," he called as he left the shop. For many, many months, Shalva and the man shared the shoes. The man used them at night, and Shalva used them in the day. Since he could not make any more shoes, Shalva took his tools and went from house to house, doing whatever mending people gave him. At long last, the war ended. Sadly, Shalva's father did not return home, and no one knew what happened to him, so Shalva had to continue taking care of his whole family. One morning, the man did not come with the shoes. Shalva waited all day and began to worry. He hoped that nothing terrible had happened. A second day passed, and a third day, and still no man and no shoes. Shalva was stuck at home. It was chilly, it was rainy, and there were puddles all over the street. He needed his shoes. By the fourth day, Shalva decided to go to work barefoot. He couldn't stay home waiting forever. Just as he was leaving the house, he saw the man approaching. He's looking out the window, waiting, but now finally the man is approaching. "Where have you been?" Shalva asked. The man smiled. "I wanted to repay your kindness, so I traveled to the big city and I bought some leather for you. It is here in this package," he said, pointing to the bundle on his shoulder. "Now you can start making shoes." Here's the man walking with the big bundle and bringing it back for Shalva. Shalva was so excited. He hurried into his shop with the man. Together they opened the package. There was enough leather to make plenty of shoes. Shalva went right to work. "You can have your shoes back," said the man. "I will buy a new pair now. You really saved my family by sharing your last pair of shoes with me. I don't know what would have happened if you hadn't been so kind." The man returned the shoes, and Shalva made a brand new pair for him. Then he blessed Shalva and he left. He was so appreciative of Shalva that Shalva shared his shoes with him that he was managed to make money to feed his family through the whole war, that he bought him the whole package of leather. So special that Shalva helped him, and so special that the man appreciated it so much. "Wow, what a lovely story," I said when Shalva finished. "Are you still friends with the man?" I asked. "I never saw him again." "Why should I?" Shalva laughed. "I never see any of my customers again. The shoes I make last forever." I wonder if it's the shoes that last forever or the kindness. "Really?" I asked. "Do you still have the shoes that you shared with him?" "Sure," Shalva smiled. He pointed to his feet. "They are old and out of style, but they are strong shoes and I have never stopped wearing them." "I keep them," he added softly, with a twinkle in his eye, "to remind myself that I can never be too poor to help someone in need." And here's the shoes. And that is such a beautiful story, because you know what? We always have something to share. It might not be shoes, and Baruch Hashem, we all have shoes to wear, but maybe it's some of our lunch, or maybe someone asks a favor to help them with their homework, or maybe someone wants us to come visit them. We always have a favor to share. Maybe our parents ask us for favors, or our siblings, or our friends, or our teachers, and we can always do a favor for someone. It doesn't matter how little we have, we can still help someone else and give to someone else. So now, especially in times like this when it's lockdown and it's hard, let's all try to do favors for others, even if it's very small, just a smile or a kind word. We can really give them shoes. It won't be real shoes, it'll be kindness that will last forever.